Hey everyone, welcome back to Mechanorn. We're a couple weeks behind, but it's alright. We'll get talking about these shows. And expect the usual, giant robots. Yeah, you tune in every week, you know what you're to expect, and have Jared with me.
Hey, Vosh.
Hey man, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. We've been letting these episodes pile up, but need to get to them right now because we don't want to get too close to the end.
Right, yeah, things are getting close. I think 2 weeks of these shows left, which is it's kind of sad, but you gotta move on eventually. And I
Mhm.
guess you gotta start with Aldnoah.zero, with what we've seen so far
Yeah.
about Noah.
So we have 3 episodes worth of All Noah and some other shows to talk about. And since then, there was the point that we talked about the landing castle had fallen on Earth, and we had all of the major orbital knights set to attack. And of course, through the cleverness of Inaho's eye and stuff, they were able to sort of get away from that. And ever since then, a lot of stuff has happened, including a big one, a Salem awaking from her slumber after, of course, being shot, and at the end of the first season. So we actually get to see her up and slain, and Adalritio see her awake, and it's a wonderful moment for them because this whole time they've been concerned about, is she going to be okay? So a touching moment for them, but all too brief.
Yeah, I would say that it's kind of short because Slane starts realizing that she's not, I don't know, not the same as he used to remember her by. Because,
Hmm.
she had all this stuff on Earth and she was on that with Inaho and she saw a different side of the humans and
Hmm.
Earthlings. So to her, it's like, she's not going to be the same to him ever. That and, Slane has been hiding the fact that her sister, is awake to the other princess. So,
Hmm.
she's got the impression that, Salem's dead, never gonna wake up. And he's been lying to her the entire time that, okay, he calls her still sick. That's what he says to her.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the other girl kind of believes it, but, it's just Slaying, and again, he's figured out how to manipulate a lot of people. I think that's pretty much what he's done this whole entire season right now.
Hmm. Yeah, it was like the second he heard Salem talk about Inaho, that boy on Earth, he's like, that boy has sullied her. I'm going to go to war. I'm going to destroy every bit of Earth just to make sure he's dead.
Right, yeah. If I can't kill him myself, I'm just gonna take over the earth and just do whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's sort of spurred what what we've seen in recent episodes where it's been really hitting the fan. And meanwhile, with Salem, we see an encounter between her and Lemrina, and it's kind of Lemrina has got a little bit better development in these past episodes, I thought. I was starting to wonder if she was very unnecessary to what was going on, and ultimately that the things that she did in the show would not bear any fruit. But I think she's gotten a little bit better development because we saw that thing where she was kind of relating to Slane and the struggles that he was going through, and I believe her interactions with Salem has helped kind of provide value for a character that I didn't think there was much value.
Right, yeah, I thought she was just gonna be this tacked on character. It was just gonna be, she's just there because they gotta have a filler character for Salem because she's asleep and all this. But like
Hmm.
you said, she has grown to be an interesting character, and even the way they get back at Slane to trick him was pretty sneaky on their part to have they use the illusion technology to have. He thought he was talking to Lumeria the whole time. He was telling
Hmm.
his plan. He's gonna do this, that, take over the Earth, marry the princess, and all this. And they reveal that it was really her the whole time. And he's just like, okay, well, now what? Now he has to arrest both of them and put them
Hmm.
both in like the brig because he can't have them walking around talking about this. So just seeing the two of them, they hate each other, but in the some moments they kind of have to get along. Even the
Hmm.
last episode we watched, I think 23, there's a bit between them that they realize they have to kind of help each other here and there. But yeah, like you said,
Hmm.
Lumeria is an interesting character.
Yeah, and while maybe she might not get the ending that she thinks she deserves,
Hmm.
as long as she sort of has a bit of a lasting effect on the story, I think that's good enough.
For a while
Okay.
there, I was pairing her up with Slane's little partner he has that follows him around. I was like, those
Oh
two,
yeah,
you know.
Arclight.
I mean, it's like, you know, if you want something to happen with her, but yeah, like you just said, I don't think it's gonna be rainbows and for her at the end, sadly.
Mhm. Yeah, and we've seen Slane, transform quite a bit this season, and we've seen in these past 3 episodes that he might be in a bit over his head, that he's going a little too crazy about this whole thing with Salem and his plan to attack Earth, that he's getting a little bit in over his head at this point in the series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It started off with him just wanting the princess to wake up, and he took over being the son, adopted son of David Corteo. So he's doing all this stuff, not realizing that he is going to be responsible for like a whole planet being destroyed if he doesn't watch what he's doing, and his
Hmm.
people are gonna. I think even I would feel like they revolt against him eventually if he doesn't start doing or waking up, realizing what he's doing. So,
Hmm.
because again, he's all worried about killing Inaho. That's his main plan. And meanwhile, there's a war going on behind the background. He doesn't realize what's going on half the time.
Yeah, and really that aggression can be used against him.
Right. I mean,
Um,
revenge in anime usually tends to backfire, most of the time.
and staying on the subject of Slain, we had Klonkine in this episode, the son of Count Cruteo, who to this day I still don't believe is dead, even though they keep showing the son or keep mentioning that, like, hey, I didn't see a dead body.
Right.
Um, but Klonkine meets, and he's kind of an interesting one. We've seen a little bit with Mazurek as somebody that kind of planted back into the orbital night system because of what recognizes about Mazurek's beliefs. But Klonkine is a little bit different because he's not affected by anything that Inaho has done. You kind of sense the tension in that meeting between Klonkine and Slain, where both don't really like each other.
Yeah, you can almost see where Clonkine can pretty much see through him. Like, he knows what he's up to. He's just like, you don't just become technically my adopted brother out of nowhere. You're up to something, you want, you're trying to get something out of all this. And he also seems to be kind of obsessed about meeting the princess in the episode. He mentioned that 3 or 4 times that he wanted to meet her. And Slane
Hmm.
being his, well, she's not feeling good. But, at the end we do see that later on. But it makes you wonder, like, why does he want to see the princess so badly? Does he know a secret that he can give to her? Does he know, a plot that, maybe he wants to protect her? And maybe they really did want peace on Earth. You never know.
Hmm.
So, yeah, the whole thing between Slane and this new guy is just interesting. Again, I don't see them getting along. There's
Yeah.
some, like you said, there's a lot of tension. They're drinking the tea, and they didn't even drink the tea. And I'm thinking
No.
half the time, like, did Slane put something in the tea? Trying
Uh-huh.
to poison this guy, Because in most of like shows like that, you have like another prince. He's really the rightful heir, technically. So it's like
Hmm.
if Slane gets rid of him, then Slane has no one to compete against for
Yeah.
the crown, I guess you could say.
And of course, what Slain doesn't realize right now is that, we have Inaho, he's getting involved, Klonkine's getting involved, Salem is starting to realize these things about what's going on, that all of these things are ultimately going to add up
Right.
to Slane's downfall.
And it looks like Slane's kind of he's gaining more enemies than friends. If you think about
Hmm.
it, he really has no allies right now at this point, except people that pretend to be his allies because obviously he has a place in power. So they're gonna be friends with him. So it's like he's kind of backed himself into a corner where he has no allies to help him.
Yeah. Hmm. And we, Earth, they go on the attack, and we see a lot of CG. I have to admit, I'm not one of these guys, oh my god, they had CG in that anime, it was terrible. But it was so noticeably different from any CG we had seen in previous episodes of the series that it looked too off to me when I was watching that scene of the CG in episode 22.
Yeah, I think that's where they're like in space. There's a lot of space scenes in that.
Hmm.
The launch sequence they did, from space. There's a lot of like, yeah, like how you see a lot of CGI. especially the part where they have this weird shell on the ship. I guess it's like a stealth armor, so they can get in space and get near the, I guess, like the moon. I guess is what they're trying to get, the moon base. And yeah,
Hmm.
there's a scene where it transforms, like opens up, and that was a little weird, like you were saying. It was a little like, okay, can you? I know you could probably cut corners on that. And they have they have the spin it basically for the gravity and launch the suits. Was just, again, like you said, kind of, a little
Yeah.
CGI much for me. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. I'm not gonna bash a series because it just has CGI. I mean,
Hmm.
some shows can do it and some shows can't. That's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah, as long as it's, telling the story that it's wanting to tell, and
Uh-huh.
it's kind of getting the action in there, and you know conveying it effectively, then I think it's okay. If they use CG in a certain scene, it's you kind of watch Shirobako, or just learn how anime is made, and it really can be a miracle how that an anime episode actually gets done. But
Right. And
yeah.
I mean, that's one of my complaints with Captain Earth. They have a lot of moments where, like, something is like a block and it transforms and morphs and stuff, which is cool. But do you really need that? You don't
Hmm.
really need to show every little gear turning, twisting, and
Hmm.
doing that because I don't know what it is all for. It's for filler to eat up time to extend
Hmm.
an episode. So I mean, it works for some shows.
Yeah. And Inaho, we see in these episodes that his eye is starting to act up, which I guess the thing is he's used it way too much, because it's saved the Deucalion crew pretty much for this entire season. So it kind of felt like at this point they went, oh, Inaho's eye is too OP. Please nerf A1 Pictures. Um, so we kind of see this bit of the eye acting up, and it's a thing that looks like it almost kind of looks the way they play off this eye thing or whatever, that both of the characters are gonna die. That's the kind of feeling I get right now.
Right, and I mean, I remember seeing some kind of theory floating around that, with the eye, cause my whole thing with AI in the animes, they tend to be evil most of the time, or they get
Hmm.
corrupted somehow and they take over. So the theory was going around that maybe the eye would eventually get to the point where it would take over his body completely, and it would be no more Inaho at all. There'd just be
Hmm.
this machine. And also the theory that maybe he really did die and this is just a robot of Inaho the entire time. But even
Hmm.
that theory kind of doesn't really work. But I mean, it could because again, Inaho in the beginning had no real emotion. That people can argue that all day. But
Hmm.
again, you don't really know what's going on with Inaho and the whole eye thing. And yeah, it's very weird. I mean, Inaho technically passed out. It was, I guess, hurting. He got shot a few
Yeah.
times, and the eye just boots up and starts talking to the princess, and that felt it was kind of far fetched for me. But
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know, it's they gotta do whatever they gotta do to make Inaho a different character. I guess I don't know.
That's the thing where I hope in these next couple of episodes they've, and I'm not even sure if they can really do this,
Hmm.
if you find a way to make this all pay off with the eye thing. He's been using it so long, and then just in these past couple episodes it starts acting up. Like, if you're gonna do that, like, it's something we've never even thought of. You mentioned with the idea, but it's something we had never even seen a hint of previously in a season.
Hmm.
All of a sudden he starts talking to his eye like, oh, I've been using you a bit too much. It seems a little bit sudden to put in there, but hopefully there's some way in these next couple episodes that they can effectively manage that
Right.
writing.
That I mean, I want to also know where he got the eye from. Did he develop the AI by himself? Is it
Hmm.
maybe something his parents worked on a long time ago in AI for combat, and he got it and used it for himself, or I
Hmm.
just want to know the other reasons, like why is he using it? I get it,
Yeah.
them to make him a little bit more. He's the most powerful soldier in their army because he's quick thinking, which is
Hmm.
fine. But is there a real reason why? Or is it just there for, like you said, to later on make him feel he has to be human again, or whatever? Maybe a handicap for or even for slaying, because again the eye's acting up, so maybe he has a fight with slaying at the end where the eye he can't use it at all, so he has to
Hmm.
rely on his other skills, which
Maybe
I
that
guess that
eye
would
was
yeah
made by Dr. Troyard.
yeah that's what I'm thinking maybe he can just kind of take back to with his slaying and all that, but yeah it is what it is. I mean I'm kind of expecting a little bit of weirdness from this show anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like Asylum is obviously what ties Inaho and Slain together, but I'm wondering if there could be something more that would tie them together.
Right, yeah, it's something that would make sense if it was developed by Slane's dad or something like that. Would be kind of interesting
Hmm.
because it is kind of advanced tech for that kind of world, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So these 3 episodes right now, I am very much interested in seeing how things conclude here. I believe episode 22 was the first time in a little while where I was genuinely kind of excited to watch Aldnoah.zero
Oh
because
yeah,
I like when things get a little crazy and a little hectic and all these things that we've been talking about during this season are finally starting to come to a head. And it's sort of the version of Aldnoah.zero that I enjoy most. I feel like this season I've been mostly kind of on the writing about it, but when Aldnoah.zero is fun to watch as I felt it was in episode 22, it can be a very enjoyable watch.
oh yeah, definitely. It's like you said. I think it's for me. It's when they focus on the three main characters, who's Slane, Salem. That's when things get really interesting. And then
Hmm.
you throw in like Lumeria in the mix, who doesn't really have a lot to gain, but she has somewhat to gain in that. And then you throw in all the war stuff, which is fine and all, but it's more background things I don't really care about. I just want to see these three characters because they are like the driving force of the show.
Hmm.
To see what happens to Slane. How far will he go? How far will Inigo go and all this? I mean, Inigo
Hmm.
is kind of pushing the boundary now. He's disobeying orders. Like we said, he's supposed to go in there and kill Princess with the other guys, but he's taking
Yeah.
his own, obviously his own thing in his own hands. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, now with the fact that, we saw in the past that Inko had seen what happened when they freed Mazurek, and now she's kind of on his side, that kind of sets up a situation where she can, help, but maybe there's a, you know, you, I could expect the worst for Inko at this point.
right. It's like almost with her, like when is enough for her to
Hmm.
see do all this backhand stuff behind everyone. Like you shouldn't be doing that. Like that's gonna bite you in the ass later. And you never know. Maybe it might come back to help him, but right now he's just laying on the floor. So the
Hmm.
whole thing, like he played around with it too much. Now he's going blind. So
All right, and that has been Aldnoah.zero episodes 20 for 22. Let's get on to GBF Trifosh.
oh yeah, and I guess maybe talk about it's something you said to me that you have seen season one. And
Yes, I have.
what are your thoughts on all that? I mean, it's the start of
Uh,
Build Fighters, really good.
yeah, it took me way too long to get into it. We're almost at the end of Try, and I just watched GBF season one. It was really fun. I watched it in 2 sittings, and I can understand why people like certain elements of season one more than season two. I feel like they're both very similar. You see the formula is very much similar. The way they fight through the regionals and then the nationals, and you see all these battles. But I think the characters that we see in the first season are really great. Like Reiji and Sei, of course. Isla was a stand. Riccardo Fellini. I fought the fight that Star Build Strike and Vinici had in season one was probably the best of the battles that we've seen in both seasons so far. And plot-wise, one is pretty weak. I feel like the thing about the other world, that was just so odd to me because I'm watching Build Fighters, which is just straight up about the Gundam fighting, and they change some things with teamwork, of course, but all of a sudden there's another world thing. There's the Gundam Mafia that's involved, and they're interfering in fights, and we're supposed to act like we don't notice that there's some cheating going on during some of this. So it was kind of weird, the plot that they were working with, and involving the Plavsky particles. Like, it's kind of like if they could have probably done more with that, but because they realized that at the same time this is a show for kids, that you can't go too deep into a plot story like that. So it seemed not quite as good. And for me, seeing so much of season 2, kind of seeing the things about the Meijin, and that it was actually Tatsuki Yuki who was in that school and the president of the model club and stuff, and so many other things like that. And we've seen Sei mentioned in this season with building the parts, and you realize like Sei Iori is like a gunpla building god in that world. It was really enjoyable, and I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, I would say season 1 has, as far as I can remember back, it's been a while, but it does have more memorable characters. I mean, season 2 has a handful, but season 1 also shows you that there are adults that play Gunpla, there are, older people that play Gunpla, a lot of different age range. And I kind of like that. They kind of highlighted that in season 1. And even the model sets, I mean, I love seeing that Wing Zero, the custom one that Finiti had was really cool. With the one wing on its side, like, that's really awesome. And just seeing that level, I guess, we haven't seen that in season 2. Them taking it and making a really customizable Gundam, besides like the SD ones that they introduced. So
yeah,
but yeah, the Gunpla in season 1 are a little bit better, I would say, than season 2. Besides, obviously the main team, which has I guess the best suits ever.
Oh yeah.
And even have an episode with China, which is the, I guess, token cute girl of that series. Even she has an episode where she has the bear, and you can see where in season 2 you have Yuma's sister has the same mech, or Gunpla as her. So I guess it comes around full circle, but maybe the girls prefer those ones a bit more, which is kind of cool. And
yeah, I'll quote my buddy Amuro, bitches love bears.
Yes, they very do. Nice. And I guess you saw the best character, obviously Sei's mom.
Yeah,
one of the, I guess, most best moms ever, I guess.
that was weird segue from Hot Mom to Raw, is that they knew Raw, but he wasn't mentioned in the same esteem in season 1 that he was in season 2. Like, everybody was like, oh my goodness, that's Raw, that's the blue, I'm forgetting his nickname now.
I like I almost wanted to say Blue Comet, but I don't think that's right.
Like the blue bear or something.
Right, yeah.
Because of the Saku. But here he was just kind of like this old dude that was just walking around and was kind of, gawking at Rinko from time to time, and then all of a sudden, Sei's dad comes back and he's like, "Oh man, fun's over."
Yeah, when Sei's dad arrives, it's pretty funny when Raul realizes that. Oh man, like, son of a bitch. But yeah, I was just saying, like, when he enters like this bar, everyone knows him, and they're like this legend about him. It was pretty funny for him. He got more, I guess he had more of a character in season 1. Season 2, he's kind of not as much. I mean, I guess maybe they realized that they can't do the same thing with him in season 2, so. And then you have that white-haired girl, I forgot her name.
Isla.
Yeah, when she showed up, it was interesting, and the stuff they did with her was a little silly with the, brain.
Yeah, M-body.
Thing yeah. And then she goes back with Reiji at the end to his world, which is kind of weird, and that's why I thought that maybe the girl you saw in season 2 was their daughter, because it was 7 years later. But I'm like, that probably wouldn't add up age-wise. So,
no.
But yeah, I thought that she would be their daughter. It'd be kind of interesting if she was. That way, you explain why she's so in tune with Gunpla and all this, because she's from another timeline, another world.
And that was actually, you speak about young children. In season 1, Nemesis was Isla, and she was fighting, and she eventually broke free of the hex that they had her on. And this young man was like, oh, I want to watch the Gundam win. And she was like, you want to win? Go build a Gundam and win it yourself. And here we are. We have Lucas.
Right, and that's a big thing for him that, she told him off. And basically, he was trying to. It sounded like I think in season 1, his grandfather was trying to pay her off to win just for his
Yeah.
son, and he would get the trophy, and that's like, what? No, screw that, and that's why she gets mad at him. Then you see Lucas now. He's kind of, I guess, taking that and really, taking it to heart, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, season 1. I mean, if people haven't seen it, I kind of recommend it. Maybe I recommend season 2 a little bit more than that because it's probably easier to get into. But season 1's
Yeah.
not bad. It's fun. It's just a little out
Yeah.
there, I guess we would say.
Yeah, I felt season 1 started off. I've heard people say that, they thought Try started slow too, like the original Build Fighters, but I thought Build Fighters was a little bit slower, and I thought it was a little weird in the very early goings. Like they're battling an idol who always, like that idol story was completely ridiculous. Like Gunpow's gonna make me more popular.
Right? Yeah. Yep. I mean that girl's fun too. But yeah, that season 1 just
Yeah,
has.
she is.
It's a lot of fun characters, and season 2 has some of that spirit there. And
I agree.
we're getting to the season 2 with basically a lot of fights because we're getting near the end. We have Sekai versus Junior, which was a melee fight. Both of them have the same similar fighting style, the Hoenn school, and they get to the point where they're both kind of mirroring each other's attacks, doing the same thing to each other, almost like you do like a fighting game. You pick the same character, so you're doing the same exact attacks to each other, and at the end, Sekai's like, I got the final move, and then they do the end credits, and you're thinking, oh well, Sekai's gonna win this, and landslide. But no, Junior pops out a new move. It's the same as his, but a little bit different, where he grows hair, which is kind of weird, on his gunpla, and they, eventually Sekai does win, but just I think how they fought was really cool in that episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was somewhat reminiscent of very early in the series when Sekai was going up against the kid that was a boxer. Just that similar, just leaving it all on the battlefield, and there was so much obsession about the Jigen House School and how Junya had left, and Sekai had eventually learned. Junya was kept going on about the ultimate technique, but what he didn't realize is that Sekai, through learning Gunpla, he's evolved.
Right, his fighting technique is even stronger. I almost forgot that it was a totally different attack at the end. It was like a mirror image thing where he had, I guess, a rainbow of colors of different versions of his burning Gundam, and it was like I guess 9 attacks in one or something like that. And that attack was kind of cool, but it was kind of most people call it an ass pull. I mean, it kind of was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The desperation. Oh, I gotta think of a new attack, and bam, he thinks of it, and it out of nowhere does it, but one time only. We've never seen it before. So it's kind of weird, but for me, I took more of like a kind of a shout back maybe to G Gundam.
Yeah.
G Gundam had a lot of absurdity to it too, a lot of stuff that you're like, okay, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Gundams and the Gundam fighters that are more of a physical nature. Like it feels like, it's all about like getting the second wind or something, where all of a sudden, you just find some energy. Penta is, it's like every freaking Naruto battle is where he finds some energy, he stores up the power, and he gets this mega attack.
Right, and he does it, and then passes out, which is every shonen you've ever seen. And then they go like, "How'd you do that? I don't remember." That tends to be the I guess catch for all those. You can't really repeat that move over and over again. But yeah, that fight was good. In the end, Junior, I mean, he came off as this bad guy, but actually in the end, he's not really the bad guy. He's just someone who was very obsessed over fighting, and he starts learning that maybe Gunpla isn't so bad. Maybe it's the wrong reasons of playing, just for strength and power. So maybe it'll come around and become this nice guy.
It was unique to see that Mirai was the one that left the sort of lasting message with him about the Jigen House School and the ultimate technique.
Right, and I always forget that she was actually in that school too, with her brother, and she learned those moves too. So I'm like, I tend to forget that she was actually at the school too. And since you mentioned her, I do like that outfit she's been wearing for the last, since the new opening and all that. Her, I guess, idol-looking outfit thing. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, kind of, with me having watched season 1, it's kind of like a rivalry between Rinko and Mirai for best girl in all of Gundam Build Fighters.
Right, definitely. I think now you mentioned that, I think it was an episode where they actually talk about the girls they like in Gundam. I think Raul has like a list of girls he likes. And he was trying to go over it, and I guess someone stopped him before he get to like the girls he liked.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because they were talking about Gundam as the anime and trying to get Reggie to watch it or something. He was just like, I don't know what this is.
Oh yeah, it's like, Salem Mass and Lala Soon and
Right.
all of them.
It's pretty funny.
Fraubo.
Yep, yep. He was mentioned too. And so we got that, and then sorry for this random thing, but the next fight was basically Nemesis, which is we talked about him before, Lucas versus Gunpla Academy, and it's basically a solo fight versus him versus 3. And his fight was kind of, I didn't really care too much for his fight. I mean, the visuals were really cool because his I guess pirate-looking Gundam is only, I was researching it, it's only been seen in manga, so we've never actually seen it in anime form. This is probably the first time you actually see it, moving around. But it has so many weapons, and just, it was crazy how many like secret weapons he pulled out of that suit of his.
Yeah, I like that fight. Without jumping too far ahead,
Right.
I was like thinking, the battle between Tendaiji and Seiho, it's got a lot to live up to with, how good this fight between Nemesis and Gunpla Academy was.
Right, and his fight was basically with Nemesis. He was I guess there's a sky in his clouds, so it's a lot of cover you can hide behind. And he would go to like differently floating islands and basically use the other guy's suits for battery power, so Lucas would never run out of energy. And slowly the Gunpla Academy kind of figured this out, that he's like, how's he getting battery power when he's obviously using so much firepower? They figured it out, and they did get him. And that was his downfall, of him having to constantly recharge, which it was kind of cool, like you said. I mean, the fight was interesting, but for me, it was kind of, compared to Sekai vs. Junior, I think the other one was better.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit different of a personality in battle for Nemesis, but he had respect for the people that he was fighting with, and he wasn't quick to blame any of them when something wrong happened, and he was respectful to them after defeat. So his character, he had this personality like, oh man, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna kick everybody's ass, and I'm hot stuff. But he came off pretty well by the end.
Right? Yeah, he could have easily been the douchebag character who would turn on his team. That, I lost because you guys weren't doing your job, and blame them. But yeah, he was kind of, I guess, classy about it. He wasn't like, well, I lost because of my teammates were crappy. But yeah, he was pretty interesting. And like you said, at the end, he does have this respect for Wilfred. And obviously, Wilfred wants to fight him again. This seems to be a common theme with that character.
Yeah.
He's gonna have all these rivals by the end of the series. But yeah, that fight was kind of short, and to my surprise, I would have thought it would have been funnier, or interesting to see him, the Gunpla Academy lose to him, to have Sekai versus him. But it's fine this other way around. I mean, it works.
They showed those kids, all the kids with blue hair. They're like, man, Gunpla Academy's gonna win. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. He knows.
Yeah, they know. They got
it would have been more like, having just watched season 1, I was mentioning to you before we got started with this recording, is that you see the formula is that you have your main characters. Gunpla Academy is always going to be in it. Nemesis is going to be in it because they're probably the ones that dedicate the most resources and the most funding into fighting. So you see what happens with all these teams that get set up, and that not like the Final Four in college sports, but you see who's going to get through just based off of how well their Gunpla are made.
Right, yeah, and like you said, it also has, funding as well. They have the best suits, and I would say Gunpla Academy has probably the best suits compared to, Tri, which is the underdog, and we have to root for them, which is how it always goes. And speaking of them, they have a fight with, I guess, Monato's team, which is that guy who has the Trion 3, the multi-combining animal mech Gundam. That one is, I mean, I think it's starting to grow on me. And when I first saw it, I liked it, but I would say overall that episode was just a beam fest basically. It was who
Yeah.
had the biggest laser beam, and who could use it the most, and that's pretty much what Minato's team uses. A lot of beam-based attacks. I mean, there's a sword they use, which is, I guess, a shout back to the old school of yeah, I guess, I don't know what, maybe Gurren type style, where it's very
Yeah.
over the top. There's swords involved, and
It's kind of like a got tie
yeah,
stuff
that,
where you
yeah,
have a bit of unique variety in that.
there's a moment in the episode they're combining, and the Tri-Fighter's like, let's shoot him before they combine. There's a big shield that blocks them. And I thought that
Mhm.
was funny. I mean, to me, being like a Magical Girl fan, I always say that when they're transforming, like, why don't they attack them when they're doing that? And I always get the
Mhm.
whole thing where it's another dimension they're transforming in. But this time, yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually a shield that stopped it, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like, don't interrupt my awesome transformation sequence.
Right, yeah, and they eventually did combine, but yeah, in the end it was the Beam Fest, to see who had the big
Yeah.
lasers, and the Tryon 3 also has other attacks, but in the end it was, I guess, Yuma versus Minato at the end. But Minato tried to run away, and his team's like, don't run away, face this, and I thought that was kind of corny, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of figured Minato would probably, turn tail and run. That's just kind of his style, I would say, but
Mm-hmm.
he actually stopped and was like, okay, you're right, this is the tournament. We've made it this far, might as well go out in a bang. And they did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ultimately the problem with the battle, and they did the same thing in the battle between Gunpla and Nemesis, where they introduced the whole time mechanic, where Shia was thinking, we can just win if we do this, but they're like, no, it's like all of a sudden in these past two episodes, they felt like they had to write that in to remind that, there's like a timer and a ring out and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think they talk about ring out in this season as they did in the first season.
Yeah, not really, I don't think so, yeah.
But with the battle, I mean, we've been talking about it on past episodes of Mechanorn, where we knew, okay, this is the battle where Fumino gets a shine, and this is going to be the battle where Sekai gets a shine, and this is the episode where Yuma's going to get the shine. So that was the one thing that kind of held back the battle for me, is that the way it was scripted, like if it were a genuine fight where we didn't have to have that concern about time and the kids at the academy saying, don't back out of this, fight like, fight like a man, for lack of a better term.
Right, yeah. they had, yeah, put that in there, yeah, I remember that. And there are some funny moments in the episode. I mean, even Minato at the beginning tried to be cool, he slammed his hand on the wall. I thought that was kind of funny. And for me, all I could think of is Free, which is a stupid reference, but they did the same thing in Free,
yeah.
where he's on the fence and the guy, he slams his hand on the fence. And it's like, oh my god, this moment, and it's just kind of silly. And at the end, he was kind of like shaking his hand like that hurt, like he hurt himself, trying to be cool and all. But yeah, Minato, he's an interesting character. I mean, even when he lost, they still had this other little rivalry at the end of this build tournament they're gonna do. And to me, that it almost is like Sunrise is hinting at there might be more. There might be a third season. You never know, or a movie. And it's just showing you that even though they are rivals in that, they're still rivals in building, and they still have that, which is, I guess, a way that those characters can kind of still be friends, technically, I guess.
That would be nice, a nice idea for many episodes if you just took the building world of it. That's one thing that I do like from Tri-Fighters, is that they separated, well, they did, not exactly separated, but they added this whole Gunpla building, model building, where there is an artistic element to building Gunpla in addition to the battle aspect of it. And I think maybe if you did some side episodes or something like that where you focus just on the building, that could be interesting.
Right, yeah. And I think that's why I kind of like a little bit of season one, a little bit better on that. They have one guy who's just dedicated to just building only. And he, pretty much is the creative one. He has to think of other ways to use the weapons and stuff. And they go on that a lot in season one, just with like the little details. Season two, they kind of brush it aside. That, yeah, some people do build custom ones, especially like Hoshino. She has hers, but yeah, and then other ones. But yeah, the final fight we saw in episode 22, really good. I mean, I thought it could be a little bit better. But yeah, like you just said a minute ago, that each character has their time to shine, and I'm assuming the last couple episodes are gonna be the team as a whole. And together instead of being two picked off, one survives, which is kind of what I don't like of the last 3 episodes. But I mean, that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, I saw in having watched the first season, episode 23 of that season was like the montage of stuff and, kind of lighthearted stuff before the final battle, where they kind of had a week off and they were at this Gunpla festival and they showed off all of these, Gundam characters making very brief cameos in the episode, which was pretty fun to spot. So I figure 23 we might get a little break from the action, and then come 24 and 25 is when we'll see the Build Fighters versus the Gunpla Academy.
Right. The last thing I want to ask is in season 1, what did you think of the episode where they had this massive free for all where everyone could fight each other, and they had to get these silly weapons? What do you think of that episode? That was my favorite of the first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool. I love the variety that they had the Gunpla fighters go through, and that one was really crazy where there was just like a giant Zaku in there, and some of the guys are fighting of it, and even the Meijin, like they asked him, we don't want you to go, but he still helped anyway.
Right, that was pretty cool. And I almost got to mention the baseball episode. Did you like that one?
Let me see here. I'm trying to think of the baseball episode. Was that an early one?
I think it was an early one. I think before they got into the tournament stuff, they had all these silly events, and one was like them playing baseball.
Oh yeah. I'm vaguely remembering that now, but that was actually in the World Championships. Is that they set it up against the Thailand guy, I believe, that was like their champion. Yeah, that was kind of a weird one. And I mean, those two characters, the chairman and Amanda Baker or something was her name.
Yep.
Like they were both like really dumb.
Yeah, they were.
The girl would always be like, "Don't worry, I have it under control," and then things would break bad, and it's like I can't tell which one is the bigger idiot of these two.
Yeah, but for me, the baseball thing was just interesting to seeing him take something that is generally, fighting series about Gundam and stuff, and putting a sports element like baseball was kind of funny. I'm like, wow, imagine if they did like a football episode where they all play football and they have this team of Gundams. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I hope that if they decide to make future seasons of Gunpla, and at this point I couldn't imagine why they wouldn't. I would imagine that the series is successful and obviously is, could become the biggest proponent of advertising Gunpla. I kind of hope that they kind of do a little bit more stuff like they did in season 1, of a little variety in the action and events that the Gunpla fighters take in.
Right, yeah, I think so too. I agree completely on that. That this is one way they can sell or advertise or show, future Gunpla and all this stuff. And yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to do that. So, I guess overall, the 3 episodes, did you like them? You kind of getting ready for the end? I mean, I'm kind of anxious to see how anything wraps up.
Yeah, same here. I think as a whole, the season, I'm kind of ready for winter to be done. Spring is looking pretty good right now, so I'm looking forward just to the end of Aldnoah.zero, and this last battle. We've been waiting the whole series for.
Right. Yeah, we want to see how these things wrap up, and I guess we'll talk about other things later on in the episodes about the future of Mechanorn, but for now we'll just keep that on right now what we're doing. So I guess I'll talk about Cross the Ange here in a bit. Welcome back to Cross the Ange, episodes 21 through 23, and kind of like what I did with J-Ro here a bit with just going over general thoughts. I'm gonna go briefly over some of these episodes, which kind of feel like maybe necessarily the same theme for all of them, but 21 being the one left behind, which is Tusk versus Embryo and Momo and Ange on the run. Basically, they're running away from, I guess, they try to save Momo, not Momo, they save Ange, and they're trying to run away from Embryo, and everyone, I think it's kind of silly how everyone tries to fight Embryo, but he just regenerates. Ultimately, make me think that maybe they shouldn't be trying to fight him anymore because it's kind of an endless cycle. of them trying to fight and all this. And yeah, so we had that. And eventually, Ange does get away with Tusk. They do escape and all that. But we had a lot of explosions, a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of chaos going on with Embryo doing his world, world thing he's doing, combining the other world with his world, and it's basically ripping the planet apart here slowly. And so we have, Vilkas is underwater. They lose that early on in the episode, which is kind of crappy. And Dragon and Jill's forces, they get so far into the castle and they're fighting and everything, but they have to kind of retreat because they're getting overwhelmed by the enemy. And there's a bit with Chris, Hilda, and Rosalie, and these three girls kind of, I guess they have a flashback of them as good friends back in the day when they first got into the, Angel's team. And the three of them have been together for a long, long time. So you have there are three of these girls are fighting each other and they don't really like it. Chris is so far attached to Embryo that she can't see that he's brainwashed them, and using them, and she kind of goes against her friends, and that puts Hilda and Rosalie in a kind of bad position that they have to fight their friend, but it's fine. And we also had a couple of random deaths. A random pilot died that kind of ticked off one of the girls, and she went on a rampage, but they stopped her. And there's some bits where they revealed that Embryo can actually control people with his powers. So anyone that uses mana, he can turn into a mind puppet. He does that with Momo, and he uses her to fight Tusk and Ange a few times, but for some reason Momo is able to resist halfway through. And there's a part where I thought was ridiculous, where a car comes out of nowhere and basically hits Momo, and she goes flying off the side of this cliff. So they're fighting on this, cliffside area, and she flies off the edge after a car hit her. So she's pretty much quote unquote dead at the time. And Tusk was also kind of fighting Embryo at the end, and he pushes Ange on his little flying bike and handcuffs her to it and sends it away on like autopilot. And when she's flying away, she looks back and just sees a massive explosion, and it's assumed that Tusk is dead as well in the episode. So she, kind of is, and just kind of freaking out about that. And episode 22 really, I guess, rides into that with it's called Necessary. And Ange, it's been a sad episode for her because she's under the impression that Tusk and Momo are dead, but not realizing that something happens later on. And so we have Chris and Salia. They're still pissed at Ange, and they both want to get back at her, and they both have their agendas. So we have that. And Ursha, the pink hair girl, the children were killed in episode 21, I think, and Embryo refuses to bring them back to life because he is going to reset the world anyway, so to him he doesn't care. And she's starting to realize that maybe I'm not supposed to be here, and she does eventually join the other team, but yeah, she's, again, Embryo just doesn't care. He's got his plan. And Jill and Dragon, the team, comes back again to try again to fight Embryo and his team, which goes okay for them. And we have a moment where obviously, Tusk and Momo are alive. They're not dead. And for some reason, Momo used a frying pan to block the car, and I guess she survived because of that. So yeah, that's, to me, stupid, but whatever. I mean, this is come to expect of this show anyway. And Tusk is he's alive too, and Ange thinks that Tusk is a clone. So she just, to prove that he's not, or a fake, whatever, she just rips his clothes off, and they just get busy. And that's pretty much what happened with those two. You don't see anything, sorry, you'll want to look for that, for that, but you're not gonna see that, sorry, unfortunately. And so yes, they had sex and all that stuff, and that happened. So then it was the end of the episode because of that. And yeah, so that happened. 23, the world is again Embryo and still doing the same thing. So Embryo's team and Dragon, I guess for the most part, you see them fight each other back and forth. Tusk even gets a paramill, I guess his mom's old mech, so he uses that. Fights Embryo later, who gets in the mech and fights as well. And Ange and Hilda kind of kiss in the hallway. The moment where Hilda's feeling kind of like rejected and kind of feeling a little depressed, and Ange just looks like kisses her and everything. And it's, I don't know if it's supposed to be a cute moment or what kind of moment. I guess it's supposed to be a reassuring moment. for Hilda. Is it a death flag? I don't know, maybe, possibly. And before Ange runs into battle, she has to give Tusk something to remember her. And what does she give him? Well, not a necklace. You know, you would think maybe a piece of hair of hers, maybe a ribbon, maybe a ring. No, she gives him her panties. For some unknown reason, that's what she does. And yeah, why not? Yes, let's go with that. And even Jill, you know, she's even pushed to fight. So if all these characters don't fight, they're fighting now, which is great. And Ange has a run-in with her little sister. By run, I mean by, you know, literally crashing through the wall, landing like 2 feet from her sister, who's laying on the ground, her chair's flipped over, and yeah, it's like Ange could have killed her if she was, you know, over to the left a bit more. Yeah, that would have happened. Kind of wish it happened. Would have probably made more drama for the series. But yeah, so, you know, she's talking to Ange. Ange is just, there's these people trying to attack her sister, and Ange just shoots one in the head. Because she just wants to. You know, she shoots from point blank in the head and starts shooting the other ones, and it's just like, wow, Ange, you don't give a shit anymore, do you? You're just gonna shoot everybody, huh? And so yeah, and she even points the gun at her sister, and her sister kind of pees herself, and Ange kind of yells at her, you know, you've been able to walk since blah 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 blah, and she's like, no, I can't. And then Ange shoots near her, and causes the sister kind of freak out. She stands up and runs off, realizing that, yeah, I can walk. Oh my god, it's a miracle. Ange is Jesus. She just gave someone the power to walk. It's amazing. I mean, just, you know, I don't know. I don't really think of that. I guess maybe just to show her that she's not a weak character, but I don't care about Ange's sister, really. She's a stupid character in my opinion. And the last thing to say is, you know, I'm not trying to bash the show. I know people generally like it. You know, there's 2 more episodes to go, and I'm relieved because, you know, it's, for me, Ange just kind of left a long time ago. It's, ever since they introduced the dragon world and all that, and the fact that the girls are actually dragons, and the other dragons are actually people, maybe even before that, maybe when Tusk even showed up, I was kind of already checked out of the series. That it's fine to like it, but, you know, I can understand liking bits and parts of it. For me, I just don't like a lot of it. There's a bunch of parts that I have issues with, and, you know, again, if you like it, that's fine. You know, 2 more episodes to go. I will be honest to say, I am anxious to see how it ends. Not just because it'll be over, but to see how they wrap the story up. You know, who is going to survive Embryo's, you know, rampage and all this, and how are they going to fix things. You know, I'm assuming that they'll just go back to being regular humans. There won't be no mana users. There won't be no Norma. There won't be no dragons. And, or maybe they'll do a whole reset where Embryo's plan goes through, the world is reset, but Ange and everyone else are different characters, and maybe they're all in a different setting. Because they did show, you know, one episode that they have different dimensions, different versions of characters. So maybe they'll do that. So, see you guys next time.